is listed because we want you to be able to remember what we said. And we're also recording this for those who are missing or those who are taking care of the kids right now. But hopefully, our goal is that everyone's on the same page. That everyone will know what's expected of a sending team member and a sending team leader, and it will allow us to be unified in this effort and hopefully service our missionaries better. One final remark before Chris comes up. These things that are in the booklet, these expectations, many of them are not new. The Fifth Sunday thing is new, and a one-year commitment is new, but most of the expectations in here have been the expectations for years, but when they're not written down or in front of us, we can easily forget them, right? And so we're not here to make a whole new system or a whole new program. Really what we're trying to do is hold ourselves accountable to do the thing that we set out to do 16, 17 years ago. So we're refocusing with that and getting everyone on the same page. And in that, we've kind of done some research with the survey or the questionnaire that went out and seeing how the teams have been functioning or how the teams have been struggling. Much of what we're going to cover is specific to what's been happening at CBC. We want to do more of what's been working well. We want to do more of what we've heard from our missionaries is working well for them. And we want to do less of or cut out or stop the things that aren't working. And so these things are pretty specific. It's not, we're not just getting together to have a cute little time and because the sending teams need to get together. We want to refocus and be a little more dedicated or a little more serious about what we've set out to do with sending teams. All right? So you can follow along in your notebook. Each section is there, and take notes if you please. Chris is going to come now and cover a basic overview of what we expect from a sending team member.
All right, thanks, Ben. So just a disclaimer. My sending team is sitting right here. And for us, I'm just really excited about the idea of a reboot because we have desperately needed it, right? And I hope, you guys can all, agree that, well, some of you are probably functioning well, but we've struggled, and admittedly, we've struggled to get together. We've wanted to, our hearts are to do that. And we were probably way more engaged when Seth and Caitlin were here and connecting, but now that they're over there, we just don't have the momentum that we're looking for. And so, in particular, I am really excited about Fifth Sundays because we're going to have it on the calendar. We're going to connect no matter what's going to happen. We're going to connect, and it's so convenient because we're here. The Burkholders have young children, so they'll be able to have their kids watched while we meet. So I don't know about you, but Fifth Sunday, which happens to be today, so it's pretty cool, we're going to actually get together afterwards, after our sessions, and meet as a team for just a few minutes and just connect and get together again and just talk about what's going on with Seth and Caitlin and the girls. So we're excited about that, and we hope that you're able to commit the 4 Sundays. You're here anyway, and so hopefully you'll be able to make most of those Fifth Sundays. It would have been good if I would advance there. There we go. Hopefully, oh man, what is going on? All right, there we go. Hopefully that'll be up in a second. The second thing is just as a sending team member, just you staying up to speed with your missionaries' news or their updates. And we just received one yesterday from Seth and Caitlin, so it was really good to hear what's going on in their life. They're going to be home in January. And so they're starting to wind down a bit there and wind up to be home. So hopefully we're winding up as they're going to be re-engaged with us. So just staying up to date with their newsletters and being able to respond to them lets them know that you are reading them and knowing what's going on and praying for them. Connecting with your missionary in various ways. We're going to go into that in greater detail in our breakout session, but with today's technology, that is way, way easier than it used to be. Just the various ways either through just calling, because missionaries, many of them now have the ability to do that on the field, which wasn't the case so many years ago. And that's, through texting or sending a video clip through Marco Polo. Sending an audio clip is always a great way, or just using social media platforms, Messenger, Instagram, GroupMe, and WhatsApp. Just so many ways to be able to do that. Just praying for your missionary regularly. I don't know if any of you grabbed the little missionary photo album that we put together last week, but that's just a really nice reminder. If you keep that in a place that you're going to a lot, I was flipping through it yesterday, and it's just neat to be able to have a place to go and just pray for them, as the Lord leads you and the Holy Spirit, just thinking about what they're going through at the moment. Financially support, if possible, if you're able to, just prayerfully think about how you can actually invest in their life. Maybe it's just in a small way. That's a really good way to feel invested in them and for them to feel that you're invested. Befriending the missionaries, we're going to go into that in a really deeper dive. Just a lot's, again, going to depend on whether they're here or whether they're overseas. It's going to look different. But we really want to stay connected as much as possible with them, just as friends, not sort of like, hey, what's, just this one-sided, for them to feel like they have to constantly be telling us what's going on in their life. We want it to be a two-way street where we're letting them know what's going on in our life. So it's just a back and forth, and we're looking forward to talking more about that in our breakout session. Again, inviting your missionary into your life is pretty much what we're talking about. It's sharing what's going on with your family and your kids, and maybe it's at work or whatever, so they can be praying for you too. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Spreading the word about your missionary, that's a good one. You can maybe repost their newsletter on your Facebook page, or talk to your friends about your missionary. I have a friend who came through the Grief Share program, and I've been telling him more and more about Seth and Caitlin and what they're doing, and it's just, he's kind of blown away by it because he hasn't been in church world, so to speak, and for him, he's just like, he can't believe that a young couple with a family would leave all this and go over there. So he's seeing the importance of the gospel, how important it is for someone to give up a life here in America. So just sharing them with others is really a great a way to spread the word about what's going on over there. Being on high alert during times when you see something on their update, just things that are happening. Maybe they're into a building project, or maybe they're doing language learning, or maybe they're going through a medical concern. So just being on high alert and how we can help them. I know a few months ago, one of Seth and Caitlin's girls got into a bit of a medical situation and concern, and somebody had to get her out of the tribe to get to a doctor, and it was hours and hours away. So, you have to be on high alert. How can we help? How could the missions committee help with that endeavor? Because it costs a ton of money to do things. So just being very aware of what's going on in their life is a huge help to them. Travel, is there a need for transportation over there? I know they had a vehicle issue that was just, the vehicle was dying on them and they needed a new one. So that was a travel issue over there. Or do they have to travel to the hospital? Or are they coming home? And so that's a huge expense these days. And, you know, again, for us personally, with Seth and Caitlin having 5 people in their family, they have a huge plane tickets that's going to be a tall order. And then when they get here, they're going to be here for 6 months. Well, they need transportation. So they have to find a vehicle that's going to hold all their crew and their stuff. So just being on high alert for those things. Changes, things that are going on, maybe in the tribe. I know with, again, Seth and Caitlin, I'm using them as an example, but as they were starting to go through the chronological teaching, and then, you know, all the way up to Christ, and just some of those major changes that were happening in the tribe, you just want to be aware of those things and how you can be praying for those, as one example. And then furlough, that's a big one. I know in Seth's mind and the way he's communicating, it's coming quick, although it feels slow. Is that me? No, it's not me.
It's me.
It's Wendy, hang on.
No, I got it.
She has her Star Trek watch on, so I think she can control it from there, so. But anyway,
That's so that everybody gets fresh pizza. That's the
That's-
pizza alarm.
actually, that's probably for Krista. Stop. Yeah. So anyway, furlough's that's a huge change, just culturally and re-engaging and settling back in. And, you know, for Seth and Faith, sorry, those are our good friends too. Seth and Caitlin, Steve and Sharon are now going to be in Florida. So that's a big deal. You know, for them, they're going to be missing out on, you know, other grandparents. Thankfully, Renee's here. But, you know, with Steve and Sharon going, that's going to be a tough one. And so they're going to feel kind of that tug of war in their hearts that, you know, we want to be near them, but we also want to be here. So we're going to have to try to figure out how to help them navigate all that, even just emotionally. All right, so working with an entire team on ideas, events, and activities. We're going to be thinking of ways to do that when they get home. For us personally, that's a big one. I know when they were getting ready to go, we did some things with them, and it was fun. One of the ideas that we had was helping them pack Christmas things for all their supporters. So we came in, got in the youth group room, and spread everything out on the table, and we helped them pack all their packages that they wanted to send to their supporters. And we had fun. You know, we ate pizza, and it was just a good time. And I remember doing that with another missionary where we actually created things together, and we just had a good time doing that. The events, we actually all got together at Christmas time and had a Christmas party, and we did crazy games, and we had the White Elephant Exchange, and that was a blast. And I know we all felt really connected at that time. And then activities was kind of self-explanatory. That's what we did, but just doing things with them if you can. I know one thing that Ben does with Seth is they watch a movie together. They like a certain genre of movie, and so that gives them a connection point. And one thing that Seth and I and Ben do, we like Giant, the bakery. They have cronuts, and that's just something we like to sit down and enjoy. And Seth just really loves it because he doesn't get to have it. So We just enjoy that time together. In fact, that's what he said. He said, I'm thinking about your office with the fireplace on, eating a cronut. So we're excited for him to come home and do that. All right, next up is Ben, and he's going to be talking about the sending team leader.
So I think this kind of goes without saying because we understand it, but we're going to say it anyway, that everything arises and falls on what? Leadership, or the leader. And so as the leader goes, so the team goes. Okay? And so for those of you who are leaders, you really are the point person for this to work. And it's an important role. It's an important job. And for those of you who are in this role, we're asking you to, we'll get into it, but commit to it for a year, but to take it serious and to wrap your arms around your team and help your team do what your team knows it should do. Like I said at the beginning, of many of these things in this booklet, we know we should be doing. We've covered it for years. What we're trying to do through this effort is find better ways to hold ourselves accountable to do the things that we want to do and said we would do. And so as a leader, you really are the linchpin to making that happen with your team. But even when others don't want to meet or they're all too busy, you as the leader, at least you're going to be there with your spouse. Now we want you to bring others along as well, but being a leader, you're saying, I'm at least going to be the one who's going to hold this together no matter what, and I'm going to try to bring along as many as possible with my team through good leadership. And so we want to just share a few thoughts or a few expectations regarding the leader. And again, we want not only the leaders to hear this, but we want the team members to hear this as well, just as we wanted everyone to hear what we expect from members. But after lunch, we will break off and go into some more detail with the leaders with some specific ideas. The first thing is you're basically, by being here, and maybe after today you'll change your mind, but by being here today and going through this, at minimal, you're committing to this role as a leader and role as a sending team member for 1 year. And that you'll see this through for 1 year. That will be 4 fifth Sundays and any other events that your team does. But you're basically saying, I'm going to do this from this missions focus to the next missions focus. And we want to also, one reason we did that is we also want you to have an out. That if after this year things have changed in your life, or it's not really working out for you, or you'd rather be on the sending team network, we want you to be able to have an easy way out. We don't want you to feel like you're signing up for this indefinitely and there's no exit plan. But we're asking for that 1 year commitment to commit to this role with the bare minimum of meeting on fifth Sundays. If you have more opportunity to meet, that's great. We'll get into that in a minute. But you're committing for 1 year in this role as the leader to try to guide this team as best possible, and specifically on fifth Sundays. And that's the second thing. As the leader and as community, or rather sending team members, you're agreeing that as much as possible, you're going to be there for those 4 fifth Sundays. And really that idea of the fifth Sundays is another kind of stopgap measure to hold us accountable to do the thing we said we would do. And that is getting together at intervals to check on our missionaries. In our feedback that we were getting from our missionaries and our sending teams, a major thing was the team was not meeting or not meeting regularly. And we understood through more feedback that it's just difficult with everyone's schedule to get everyone on the same page once a quarter or once every 4 or 5 months. It's just tough. And so we've tried to mediate that or alleviate that by creating the fifth Sunday format. Most of us will be here most Sundays, and at the very least we're committing 4 Sundays a month to being there for our missionary. And so we've tried to alleviate some of that schedule. We've planned it. It's on fifth Sundays. Most of you are already here and not working, so you don't have to work that out with your schedule. And so that measure is there to try to help with one of the major problems we've been hearing, that teams are not meeting or meeting consistently. Like Wendy or Chris mentioned at that time too, during the second hour on the fifth Sundays, for those of you who have kids, groups will still be going. There'll be childcare provided. You don't have to worry about that if you're scheduling it on your own. So there's just good reasons to do that. So the first 2 commitments are you're going to do this for a year, and you're going to commit to being there on fifth Sundays. We'll get into it in a minute, but on fifth Sundays, you'll have a special role as the leader with your team. But let's just keep going down the list quickly here. You're going to stay up to speed with your missionaries' news and updates. Now, obviously, that's everyone's role as a sending team member. That's what Chris said. But as the leader, you're especially responsible for that. You really should have your ear to the ground, as it were. Like, you should be following their Facebook pages, and you should probably even have a routine where once a month you ask for an update, once a month you ask for a video from them. But anytime you see any information about them, you're going to get that out to your team. You should be the one that really knows what's happening with your missionaries. And we're not going to be able to answer everything, especially our missionaries who are far away and there's a delay in communication. We're not saying that you have to constantly know exactly what's happening, but you should be able to give a pretty good explanation as to what they're doing now, what's happening in their life, what might be some current needs, and your team knows that as well because you've sent that on to them. Another thing we'll talk about a little bit further in the second hour is, as a leader, you need to develop a format for how you're going to get that information out. If that's starting a WhatsApp group for your sending team, if it's starting a Facebook messaging group, or if it's just a texting group, you have to talk about what's best, but you're going to inform the team of what that system of communication is, and you're going to be on top of it as much as possible. And that's really the second point there of keeping other teammates up to date on your missionary. Your sending team should know everything that you know about your missionary as much as possible. As Chris said, the leader is trying to connect to their missionary or with their missionary in many ways, and you're trying to create ways to connect with your missionary. You're trying to invent ways that you can bridge the gap between your sending team and your missionary, or even the church and your missionary. And you can foster an environment where your sending team members can give ideas for that, but really you are the point person to make it happen or create an environment where it can happen. As Chris mentioned, the leader is supposed to be praying for the missionary regularly and finding ways to encourage the team to pray for the missionary regularly. And that even includes putting out those prayer requests or even asking your team to set aside time to pray. As Chris mentioned, we would hope that the leader would financially support their missionary, if at all possible, even in a small way. But almost bigger than that, what comes back time and time again from our missionaries is they want to be friends with their sending team and their sending team leader. And so I would argue that one of your biggest roles as a leader is to get to know your missionary personally and to make sure your missionary knows that you love them and that you care for them and you're making time for them even over the miles. We'll talk more about that both as a leader and a team member in the second hour. Okay, so we've said that the bare minimum going forward is that the sending teams are going to meet on the 4 fifth Sundays. And we'll explain a little later that 2 of our fifth Sundays fall on holidays or kind of difficult times, so we'll meet the Sunday either after or before that fifth Sunday. But we're going to meet 4 times a year on or right before or right after the fifth Sunday. So our bare minimum is that commitment, and there will be time each fifth Sunday where the leader will take the group aside and need to have some information prepared from their missionary and even leading a time of prayer. Another thing would be to, while you're aware of your missionary's needs, you're trying to organize your team to help meet those needs or get that information to the sending team network or to the missions committee. We'll talk more about that in the second hour. Another thing you're doing regarding the fifth Sundays is that you are specifically connecting with your missionary that week before or a couple weeks before that meeting so that you're up to date with what's happening right now in their life, and maybe even organizing a pre-prepared recorded video from your missionary. If your missionary's in your same time zone, you could talk to them live with them during that time, but most of you will probably be pre-recorded. But we'll go into more of that with the leaders, but you're going to have a little bit of preparatory work for that fifth Sunday, Because what we'll do is we'll probably get together with everyone for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll spread out and you'll have the rest of the time as a team. Okay, a few more here. Or is that pretty much done? I don't know what you've all got there. We pretty much covered everything as an overview for a leader. We'll go into more detail in the second hour of this after lunch with more specific ideas for a sending team leader. But thank you for your willingness to do this for a year and to lead in this capacity. And Dawn and I look forward to talking to the leaders in more detail after lunch. Wendy's going to come forward with the time we have before we eat to go into more detail on our 5th Sunday idea.
Okay, looks like Gary went to get, Gary went to get the pizza. He will be here at 11:30. Just for any of you that have your kids in Roots, we do have childcare that will be covered after we eat lunch. We're gonna have pizza for them in the gym as well. So I'm just letting you know right after we're done talking about 5th Sunday, that's what we're gonna do next, is just get our food. If you wanna get your food as quick as possible, then we can keep going. Just so you know, we're gonna have to get our kids here in just a couple minutes. But we just wanna give you a little bit more information about what 5th Sunday is gonna look like, because that is gonna be something we're implementing in this year that we think will be kind of a bigger pillar to sending teams. We're hoping it will be very helpful for you. I think it's going to be helpful for our team, and I got the impression from a lot of you that I talked to that it sounds like it will be helpful for yours as well. But we wanted to show you what that's going to look like a little bit. As Chris mentioned, this is a 5th Sunday, so it kind of works out perfect. That we are starting it off on our first 5th Sunday. As we mentioned to you, there are 4 5th Sundays in the year. They tend to fall one per season, sort of, which works out also really well as far as holidays go and things that we can be talking about as a team that are timely for our missionaries. But what is a 5th Sunday? We are first telling you, as we've mentioned last week and we've mentioned this week, it is something that we are strongly suggesting you be a part of and requesting it. I don't want to say it is required, but in a sense, it sort of is. So we are strongly encouraging you to participate in, in our 5th Sundays. And just like we're meeting here corporately all together, our plan of the structure of the 5th Sundays are, once the service is over, everyone who's a part of a sending team will stay in the auditorium where we'll be together as a whole group. We've had some brainstorming on different things we can do to start our time off, whether that is hearing a little update from maybe a missionary, something that's been going on with one of our missionaries. Maybe it's something corporate that we need to talk about as whole, all the teams together. But we'll start off in the auditorium, whether it's hearing a little update about a missionary, maybe praying all together for that missionary, or going over any different information that we need to go over. So we'll start off in the auditorium, where then we will break off in your teams. And the cool thing about what we're doing today is we're going to practice that. So you're going to get, oh goodness, it's way over there. You're going to get a map today that will show you where you're going to break off as teams. Chris, could you get that for me, please? It's right back there. It's just super far away from me. So we're going to practice that today so that you know what to expect at our next 5th Sunday. You'll break off as teams, have that right there, where you'll get a map that will show you the picture of your missionary, and you're going to find, oh, it's kind of like hide and seek. All throughout the building, you're going to find their picture taped to the area that is on the map. So it's like a little treasure hunt. So you're going to find your missionary, go to that room, and your team will break off together. That's what will happen off his Sundays. That is also what's going to happen today. So during that time, you break off as your team together, where then, as Ben mentioned, not to overwhelm our leaders, but we'll be in contact with the leaders leading up to a 5th Sunday. all of us on staff, one of us will be continually in contact with you as leaders, preparing you, asking if you have any questions leading up to Fifth Sunday, giving you maybe some ideas of things you can be talking about leading up to it. You won't be left on your own. So we'll be in contact with the leader, and once you break off, you will also receive, I think that I have it in the next one here. You'll be given timely and practical topics to talk about. Each Fifth Sunday, and actually this Fifth Sunday as well, you'll get an agenda. You'll get an agenda that will give you just some bullet points of things that you can be talking about. I think sometimes maybe we want to meet, we want to talk about things, but then when it comes down to it, we, for lack of a better word, we have a little bit of a brain fart. We don't know what to say or what to talk about. We're not quite sure. And so this is going to help you talk about the things that you need to talk about as far as your team goes. You're going to get this today as well. It'll be a practice run for the rest of our Fifth Sundays. But we want to give you timely things to talk about. So like I said, many times they're going to fall every season, these Fifth Sundays. So for example, this one is falling before Christmas. And so on your agenda when you break up is Christmas. We want you to be talking about Christmas and your missionary. Hey, what are we thinking we want to do for our missionary? Is it even possible to do something for our missionary for Christmas? Is it possible that we can send them something in the mail? Do we need to find out how that works? I mean, I know we've had that struggle. Okay, can we send stuff in the mail? I know Missy and I have tried to do the, mental gymnastics on, okay, if we send it, how much is it? Do we have to, what's the best way to send it in the mail? There's multiple ways you can send things in the mail. Do we need to find out if someone's already traveling over there that we could send something with them? So we want to give you those timely topics to talk about during your Fifth Sunday time together with your team. Again, this might be something that your leader's already thinking about, and we're going to be talking to them about it so they know this agenda in advance. But it will just help you, I think it'll help be thinking ahead. I think I said this last week, if you're anything like me, October and November, pretty much November rolls around and it's like, oh my goodness, Christmas is coming and we didn't even think of anything, and it's over now as far as us sending teams that have missionaries overseas. Now those of you that have missionaries that are local, this will be a little bit easier, some of these timely things. So on our Fifth Sundays, you're going to get an agenda. The leaders will have this agenda in advance so they know what we're coming up with. And again, you can talk about more things than this, but we'll come up with some specific things that we think would be helpful to be talking about during your meetings. And again, like Ben mentioned, we believe that prayer is important, but if you're like us, sometimes it just falls to the wayside a little bit. And so we want to make sure that during our times together on Fifth Sundays that we have a time to pray for our missionaries, but also for our team, because we really are wanting to encourage you all as a team and your ability to work together as a team for missions and for our missionary. And so we're hoping that not only will this be a time of getting organized and planning for our missionary and praying for our missionary, but also that we take time to pray for our team and our teamwork and our relationship, because like I mentioned last week, working on a team is hard. It also can be great. And so we want to make sure that we're taking time to also pray for ourselves as a team, and that God would help us be wise in how we are working as a team, as encouraging our missionaries. So that's what a Fifth Sunday will look like as far as once you break off. We'll start as a group, have a different update maybe, or encouragement of what's going on in the bigger view of missions here at CBC, and then we will break apart and you will focus solely on your specific sending team and your missionary. So real quick, the last thing before we get to eat is just next one. What is the expectation of Fifth Sunday? I think we've made it kind of clear that attending it would be an expectation. We really, really want you to be at Fifth Sunday. If you're unable to attend for some reason, we really want your leader to know. You can tell me, but the best thing is for you to tell your leader, because I may forget, and Chris may forget, and Ben may forget. So if you already know ahead of time that you're not going to be able to be there, we want your leader to know ahead of time, so that as a team, there's not like question marks. I don't know if you've found that on these sending teams, just some question marks like, okay, are they on the team? Are they not on the team? Are they just not here because they're sick, or are they not here because they really aren't on the team anymore? I don't know if you've found those things to be question marks. We don't want any question marks. So if you're unable to not be here for a Fifth Sunday, we really want you to let your leader know ahead of time. And as Ben mentioned, he's going to talk about it more when we break off with the leader. We do have an expectation that the leader will be a little bit more up to date, and like I said, the leaders will all receive the agenda in advance from us. You'll have it in advance, so you know the things that you'll be talking about. But just so that we have someone that is a little bit more educated in what's going to be happening prior to it happening. So really quickly, in your book, you'll see the 4 dates. We always think it's good to know the dates ahead of time. You'll get a text reminder leading up to it, so you'll get reminded. You won't miss it. But those are the 4 dates. We would love it if, now that you know them now, that you will plan around it and that you will make a point to be there for these Fifth Sundays.